Hi, everyone. I have Shannon on today. I am so excited for you guys to hear her story. We're going to jump into her YouTube video because it's amazing. And I want you to catch a glimpse of her story, and then we'll dive into the interview. So if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see it or you'll be able to hear it. So just sit tight for 1 second while I share my screen.
To all the outcast, the throwaways, the rejected, the bullied, the unlovable, the depressed, the suicidal, even the ones who suffer in secret. This is a piece of my story. This was a part of my development. 5 years ago in school, I was rejected. I was an outcast. I had something in me that other kids didn't have. I was different, and I resented that about myself. I tried and tried to change who I was, and it seemed as whatever I did, I still couldn't blend in. They could see through me like a mirror. I squeezed myself into a box that I wasn't created to fit in. By saying and doing things that they did, they still could see the light that I was trying to hide. I wanted to blend in with the darkness because I wanted to feel wanted, included, accepted, as if I belonged. I wanted their approval. I was alone and hurt and masked my emotions to make it seem like everything was fine, when I wasn't. I was often stabbed in the back, talked about by some who I thought were friends. I was the kid who ate alone, walked alone, talked alone, sat alone. I was at a point where, even in a room full of people, I still felt alone. I felt deserted. I was crying out from the inside and no one knew. I searched and searched for ways to fill that missing void inside my heart, looking towards the wrong resources. And music was one of them. I listened to a lot of secular music, from R&B to pop songs. Any song that came out, I was listening to it. Music became my best friend, and I was unaware of what doorways I was opening up to my spiritual man. I listened to depressing and lonely artists because they could relate to the pain I was going through. Not realizing the more and more I was letting the songs release into my spirit, the more lonely and depressed I felt. Behind most of the songs in the secular music industry, there is a spirit behind it, including gospel artists. Be aware of what you allow into your ear gates. It's more than just a song. I never realized this until I found the source. In the midst of my pain and hurt, he had to show me who I was in him and not of this world. He had to reveal to me that he is with me and is still with me through it all. He never left me nor forsaken me, and he will do the same for you. He is a friend like no other. He will stick with you through the hardest and trying times, and even in your best times. My message to you is, why listen to someone who didn't create you? They don't have the right to label you. Only your Creator does. And he calls you chosen. He calls you loved, and much more. You belong and are welcome into his kingdom. His name is Jesus, and he desires for you to be you. Be who he has called you to be. Be bold, be courageous, be radical. People will hate on and talk about you regardless, whether you do good or bad. Don't blend in with the darkness. Shine your light. If you spend your time trying to please people, it's always going to be someone who is unhappy about how you dress, how you talk, how you look. Focus on pleasing God, because he's the only one that matters. No one else.
All right. Thank you so much, Shannon. Wow, that video is powerful. Let me
Thank you.
This is off in the background. Well, it's an honor to have you. As a 40-some-year-old mom of 2 teenagers, I feel like this is a lesson I'm still learning and understanding. So for you to do what you're doing is just inspiring and awesome. So thanks for being on here. I know we met through Facebook. I love all these groups and just meeting amazing people. I listened to one of your podcasts on another show and it was amazing. So tell me, why now? And how do you have the courage to get out there and do what many adults are afraid of to do, to put themselves out there, to share their story and just be authentic?
Well, all the credit belongs to God because I'm honestly somebody who's very shy and I'm like, okay, I don't want to do this at all, but I'm like, okay, I'll go and do it. It's for God, so I'll go forth. And I really had to get out of my shell and really just go forth and do it because the fear is always going to be there and the anxiety, but you have to really push past it and be like, okay, once you do it, it's like, it's not that scary anymore. So, yeah.
Well, again, you are an inspiration. I'm curious, what is it like? What is it like as a 15-year-old? I assume you're on Instagram and all the places. Are you hearing things daily from people that are like, wow, thank you for sharing your story? What is that like?
Yes, I have teenagers that reach out to me and even some adults, and it's just so much support that I've been getting, and it's truly amazing. And my mind is blown how fast it happened. And it's it's mind blowing to me, but it's awesome.
Well, it's beautiful. I'm sure you're still in school, right? You're a
Yes,
student
I
at
am.
testing, and then you're doing podcasts and doing all this fun stuff in your free time. I mean, what's your schedule like? How are you spending your time and how are you, getting that word out there?
Well, I often go on Instagram a lot, and then I also like to do YouTube videos. And also, just I like to do graphic design as well, where I post different designs that I make where it represents different messages. And yeah,
Very cool. One quote you said in your video, it was, why listen to someone who didn't create you? I love that. And
yes,
that's so true. And again, that's why I do this podcast. It's about the valuable voices and listening to valuable voices. So you said you started listening to music and that really wasn't serving you, right? But again,
it wasn't.
kind of just something that you felt like maybe at the time you needed. Sometimes we need to hear those words. We want to feel we're not alone. But what was like that wake up call that was like, wait, this isn't serving me. I need to do something else.
So I listened to a lot of depressing artists and I thought it would help me, but it really wasn't. And it was having a really bad effect on me because all I constantly heard was I'm depressed and I'm suicidal. And it kept replaying in my mind where I'm like, okay, I am these things. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger the more I listened to the music, even though I thought, okay, this is helping me. It really wasn't. It was doing more harm than good to my spirit. And when I stopped listening to it, I noticed a shift in my attitude and the way I acted. And even with the depressing thoughts, I noticed they lowered and I didn't get it as much because I stopped listening to the negative
Yeah.
songs.
Any words we put on repeat, right? We're going to listen to it over
Yes,
and over again. It's kind of like ingrained in our brain. So super smart of you. That's obviously wisdom to be like, wait, this isn't working for me. I got to listen to something else. I mean, and we can do that with anything, the news, people in our lives, whether it's teachers, friends, spouses, parents, anybody that's just not, pouring into us and believing in us and encouraging us and supporting us. So I believe that now I don't want to make an assumption. Did you grow up in the church? Did you know who God was most
yes.
of your life? So what kind of shifted to start hearing his voice louder, I suppose?
Well, it was really my mother and her effect in my life because it was one night where I did want to end my life. And I was 11 at the time and I wanted to commit suicide. And I was crying in my room one day and my mother, she didn't even hear me, but she ended up walking in my room and she just started praying for me. And that day, if she didn't come in there, I probably would have ended my life. So it was nothing but a godsend.
Wow. Moms are the best and
Yes,
they
they are.
love you no matter what and they want anything and everything for you. So I'm sure your mom had a gut instinct or just God told her or whispered like go
Yes.
in the room, right? I mean, that is powerful. And I love what you're doing. It really is to glorify God. And again, you said, why listen to someone that didn't create us? Why do you think people listen to other? Is it because they don't know God? His voice isn't loud enough? How would you answer that?
Well, I think people are influenced. It's easy. People are easily influenced by what's around them. And then you can have friends or somebody who constantly tells you things that are negative and you're like, okay, well, I believe it because I'm constantly hearing it, so I'm going to believe it. And they're just easily influenced. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And just, I don't know. I mean, at your age, I think for me anyway, it's like maybe he isn't cool, or not everybody's talking about him, or you're getting made fun of if you do. I mean, gosh, some people are just hurtful, but good for you
Yes.
for just stepping out. I know this is super short and sweet, but I just love who you are. I love what you're doing. Again, there are people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and I think you're just such an advantage. You're going to have an amazing life. You're going to make a huge impact on so many people. So I got to know, like, one last question, just kind of like, what's your biggest dream or goals? Like at 15, where do you see kind of your future?
Well, I want to go out to speaking into high schools and just going out around the world, speaking to different teenagers. But also, I want to go into the music industry myself because it's had a huge impact on me. So I'm like, okay, I want to make my own music.
Beautiful. Well, I'm sure you will be amazing at that. Thank you so much for being on. Just really appreciate you taking the time again. I mean, my listeners are probably older, but it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing to see an amazing young woman like yourself. And I'm going to share this with my kids too. So thanks for being on, and just keep doing what you're doing. It's just beautiful. And I know you'll be successful because you trust in him and you hear his voice.
Yes, thank
So
you.
God bless you, and thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy your day, and just thanks for listening. Appreciate you all.